Okay, so this week, instead of going with something difficult, how I did last week with the interior defensive linemen, I went with something that was pretty easy. I feel like if your top four safeties aren't these four guys, your list is completely wrong because I feel like these guys are like above and beyond the rest. Now, for the fifth spot, there was a little bit debating between two guys, but I opted to go with one guy. But the top five safeties should, for the most part, look the exact same way for everyone else, in my opinion. And honestly, I don't think this is even debatable. You can definitely debate like who goes where, but if you want to put someone else in that list, that's not these six guys I'm about to mention, then your list is completely wrong in my opinion. And as messed up as that might sound, I really think these guys are like above and beyond the rest. And like usual, I'm gonna start with some honorable mentions. Some people might mention these guys. You got players like Justin Simmons from the Denver Broncos, very good player. You also got his buddy Kareem Jackson, also a very good player, physical safety, one of the hardest hitting safeties in the NFL. Can also cover well. So Denver's got some two very good safeties. You got Anthony Harris over there in Minnesota. I mean, I feel like he's overshadowed by Harrison Smith, but he's definitely a very good player. You have, of course, Earl Thomas. You can't go wrong with Earl Thomas. I mean, he's not who he once was. Like in Seattle, the dude was amazing. He's definitely lost a step or two, but he's still someone worth mentioning when you talk about the top safeties in the NFL. You got Buda Baker from the Arizona Cardinals. Smaller guy, but still gets the job done. I feel like, not many people talk about him because, well, he's in Arizona, and Arizona, they haven't really been good for the past few years. You got Jesse Bates from the Bengals and Justin Reed from the Texans, two very young safeties who I feel like they're both the forgotten ones when it comes to safety talk. Like, everyone talks about the other young safeties, but not many people talk about Jesse Bates and Justin Reed, especially Justin Reed. I feel like Justin Reed is going to be a top 5 safety in the NFL here pretty soon. He might jump up this list after this season. He's going to be healthy this year. Last year, he played the whole season with a messed up shoulder and still had a decent season. I don't think he had a season as good as his rookie year, and obviously that's due to the shoulder injury. But this year, with him being healthy, I think he'll have an even better season. Obviously, going into year 3 is going to make a difference. He would have seen way more already of the NFL, what offenses try to do to attack his defense, and he's going to be all around better. So don't be shocked if Justin Reed makes it to my top 5 next season. And now, when it comes to the actual list itself, starting off with number 5, this one was very, very, very difficult for me. It was between two players. And honestly, you can't go wrong with either one. And I decided to go with Harrison Smith over Kevin Byard. But you could honestly go either one. Now, the reason I opted to go with Harrison Smith is because he's been doing it at a high level for longer than Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard is still a pretty young safety, but Harrison Smith, he's been playing at a very high level for 5, 6, 7 years now, it feels like. I mean, the dude's a hard-hitting safety. He's good in coverage. I know some people are going to be like, well, he got burnt by Zach Ertz. You're really taking away points from a safety that got burnt by one of the best tight ends in the league. I mean, it happens, bro. It happens. So I definitely think Harrison Smith is one of the better safeties in the league. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, the Vikings, they have Anthony Harris too, and they have Harrison Smith. So they have arguably the best safety duo in the NFL at the moment. And, as for Kevin Byard, young player, very good player. I feel like he was good since his rookie year, if I remember correctly. But he hasn't been in the NFL that long. I believe this year will be year 4. So, yeah, don't be shocked if Kevin Byard overtakes Harrison Smith as like a top 5 safety. But like I said, you can't go wrong with these 6 guys. Like, as long as these guys are on your list, you're good. You're good. Anyways, moving on to number 4. At number 4, I have Eddie Jackson from the Chicago Bears. I feel like people forgot about this guy. I don't know why. I see people talk about safeties, but he isn't mentioned that much. I know the Madden ratings came out, and like Eddie Jackson isn't that highly rated. I know it's just Madden, but still though, because Eddie Jackson, you would think he'd get a bunch of recognition with all the plays he makes. I mean, the dude's just a ball magnet. The ball just goes his way. I mean, obviously he's not a good run defender, but in coverage, this guy is just amazing. One of the best in the league. And he's one of the reasons why Chicago's defense back in 2018 was so dominant. The dude was getting like turnovers like every single game. He was getting touchdowns. He'd get the ball in his hands somehow, whether it was a pick or a fumble, and he'd find a way to score a touchdown. The dude is still making plays, and he's very young, and he's gonna stay a top safety in the NFL for a good while. At number 3, I have Minkah Fitzpatrick. Now, the reason why Minkah isn't higher, well, his days in Miami weren't exactly good, but the second he went to Pittsburgh, the dude balled out. Like, in my opinion, Minkah Fitzpatrick transformed that Steelers defense from middle of the pack to downright terrifying. He can do it all. He can play corner, he can play nickel, he can play safety, he can make plays for his defense. I remember watching a Steelers game. They were playing the Colts, and the game was looking pretty close. But then Minkah Fitzpatrick got a pick 6, and the game like completely changed from there. Like, the Steelers took control, and that was game. That's the kind of player Minkah Fitzpatrick is. He is a game changer. When they traded a first-round pick to the Dolphins for Minkah Fitzpatrick, people were clowning the Steelers. I mean, yeah, they didn't make the playoffs, but Jesus, Minkah Fitzpatrick, he transformed into a true elite safety with the Steelers. I guess the Dolphins were just flat out using him wrong, because I remember week 1, people were calling Minkah Fitzpatrick a bust because he got burnt like twice or 3 times by Hollywood Brown against the Ravens. And then, people were like, oh my God, he's a bust. But then he ends up going to Pittsburgh, and he is a completely different player. Straight up game changer. At number 2, I have Derwin James. Now, the only reason Derwin James isn't number 1 is due to health concerns. But when Derwin James plays, oh my God, the dude is amazing. He is a do-it-all safety. He can play in the box. He can play deep. He's just on a whole other level. And I think the top 3 guys, including Minkah Fitzpatrick, like, these 3 guys are on a whole different level compared to the other safeties in the NFL. And I actually do believe that if Derwin James didn't have like these little nagging injuries, and this injury at the start of the season, I think people would talk about Derwin James way more. Like, he's in the same league as Minkah Fitzpatrick, if not even better. This dude is amazing, a complete game changer when he's out there, and I honestly feel like if Derwin James would have played early in the season, maybe the Chargers don't suck so much. I mean, I don't think they'd make the playoffs, but maybe they'd be like more around 8-8, 9-7 type of team. I think he makes that big of a difference. And over there with the Chargers, now they add Chris Harris, they already have King, and they have Casey Hayward, one of the most underrated corners, even though like 2-3 years ago everybody was talking about him. Yeah, that secondary with the Chargers is pretty good. And they got Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. Now, I'm not saying, Derwin James is going to take the Chargers to the playoffs, but that defense, with Derwin James being, I guess, the leader of that defense, you can say, yeah, that defense is going to be good for them. And at number 1, I have Mr. Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams can do it all. People label him a box safety just because he's a good box safety. Doesn't mean he's only a box safety. He can cover. He can hit hard. He's everything you want in a safety. And I know it's pretty much sounding like I've been saying the same thing for like the past 5 minutes, but bro, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Derwin James, Jamal Adams, those are your top 3 safeties. They're all very good. They're all on a different level. They're all very young. And honestly, if Jamal Adams, Derwin James, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Eddie Jackson, Harrison Smith, or Kevin Byard, if 5 of those 6 guys aren't in your top 5, your top 5 list is wrong. It's wrong. Because I honestly do feel like these guys are on a whole other level compared to the rest of the safeties. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, Justin Simmons, Justin Reed, Anthony Harris, Jesse Bates, Kareem Jackson, Earl Thomas, Budda Baker, those guys are fine. They're great. They're good. But these 6 guys, they're on the league of their own right now. Now, obviously, Jesse Bates, Justin Reed, Justin Simmons, they can get there because they're still young. But for right now, those 6 guys, those are your top 6 safeties. And anyone who disagrees, well, watch the film. Watch the games. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys for today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.